and welcome to the TUI's International Cup 18-foot Summer Series. I'm Karen Ty, and over the next 5 days at this time, ABC Sport and Grand Prix Sailing will bring you the best from this spectacular sport as world champion Michael Walsh takes on a hot lineup of leading Australian crews. Internationally famous Sydney Harbour is the venue as these high-tech flying machines compete on the world's foremost short course event. Now each day's racing comprises of 2 events, a scratch event and a handicap event, and we'll be keeping you up to date throughout the week's racing with boat positions and current standings. So let's now join race commentators Bill McCartney and 3-time world champion Rob Brown.
Let us introduce the competitors to you. The Touche Ross is driven by Michael Bochner, a young champion out of the 12-foot skiffs.
Ella Bechet, the only female skipper in this event, skippered by Adrian Cahalan.
And looking a picture as well, Ericsson. Andrew DeVola is the skipper of the Ericsson. She's a brand new machine and she's coming on the pace, getting faster and faster. We expect plenty from her.
Gestetner, skippered by Dave Cummings, the Irishman. The one tip to possibly knock the champion off his crown, Davey Cummings sailing Gestetner.
And very much in contention also is Phil Barnett on board the Xerox. Now, he was with the World Championship boat last season. He's got his own skiff this season, the Xerox, on the right of that picture, and Phil Barnett's looking very good. They're all chasing this guy, the current world champion, the #1 seed in this event, Michael Walsh, on board the Prudential. In the park, trying to select a rig. They have to decide which rig to put up. We'll tell you more about that later on. In the meantime, Dave Cummins is expected to provide the big challenge to Michael Walsh, and I asked him if he thought he had a pace advantage over the champion.
Don't think we've got a pace advantage on him, but I certainly think we're as quick as him. You never know. There might be certain times when we might be a bit quicker and vice versa, but I think we've got enough pace there to keep him on his toes.
What rig today?
We're looking at second. We don't think it's going to do too much. We can't see anything coming in. We're hoping and keeping our fingers crossed, but we think we're making the right decision.
Michael Walsh isn't unbeatable by any means.
He's starting to look that way to me.
Oh, we'll soon see, I'm sure.
Michael, starting to shape up like Michael Walsh versus the rest, really, isn't it?
Well, everybody seems to think that way. Yeah, I don't know. We're just going out there to, to sail our boat the best we possibly can, and if they all want to gang up on us, then that's fine by me. We've got broad shoulders, and our boat's going quite quick now.
And your rig selection for today?
We'll be going second rig, Bill. It's, I think the southerly is forecasted to come through, but I don't really think it's going to come through that much. But I think the second rig will be the rig for the day.
The southerly shore has arrived, or it sure did arrive, and this was part of the result. They were bushwhacked by a southerly change that came through, Rob, and I guess you've been caught by a few of those.
Yeah, Sydney Harbour is very unpredictable, and the southerly has come through and caught all these boats unawares. Here we have Touche Ross, who has actually broken its mast, being grossly overpowered by the conditions.
Touche Ross, a mast out of the boat. The organisers saw what was happening. They were on the water when the southerly buster came crashing down out of Rose Bay and knocked them all flying. Here we got some pictures of the Ericsson hopelessly overpowered with its #2 rigger.
What we have here, Bill, is we can see Ericsson with his #2 rig on, the jib, the front sail eased, flagging, trying to depower the boat, and I think we'll have to have another race. I can't see them going on with these rigs.
And as a result of that southerly blowing the fleet off the water, the skiffs have put on smaller rigs. Now normally this regatta will be run on a specially designed slalom course, but in conditions like these, an alternative straight up and down course has been introduced to allow racing to commence.
Here we go to the start of the scratch race. The boys have changed their tyres. They've gone from the dry weather tyres to the wet weather, and we've got a start coming up very shortly. You'll see the puff of smoke just above Ericsson. They're winding the boats up, accelerating now. This looks like a good start. Gestetner looking fast. There goes the gun. They're away.
I should say that the Xerox and the Touche Ross were in behind those 3 skiffs, and I wouldn't be at all surprised, Rob, if they don't say that Gestetner, Prudential and Ericsson broke the start.
Our position here, Bill, very hard to tell, but they were right close to that line.
OK, out of the blocks they come. The Prudential, driven by Michael Walsh in the middle of your picture, reputedly the fastest skiff of any kind in the world. Ericsson up above, an up-and-comer. Down below the Gestetner, the skiff that everyone's been saying can really challenge Michael Walsh for boat speed. And, Rob, I must say just now it looks to me like he's doing exactly that.
Yes, he's controlling the two boats to weather, but I like Ericsson's position. He seems to have advanced ahead of Prudential, and in this breeze, up around 22 to 25 knots with their number 3 rigs on, this is going to be an interesting contest.
Okay, the Touche Ross and the Xerox in behind these 3 leading skiffs, as well as the Elabashe. They all started perhaps on time, perhaps late. We'll wait and see what everybody says about that. The 3 leading skiffs at this stage. There's the Touche Ross now, coming out of the blocks. She was around about 10 seconds slower than the front 3 out of the blocks, but I have a feeling that they did start early. Organisers, by the way, Rob, as we see the Elabashe coming up on a starboard tack and in fact crossing in front of the Prudential first time around. First time around she's beating the Prudential. Now that's a big surprise.
Well, I think Adrian started at that weather end just behind them and got a slight wind shift, and Michael Walsh was affected by these 2 boats, Gestetner tacking now and Ericsson, and we have Ericsson leading, Gestetner second, Elabashe third, and Prudential in fact 4th, and Touche Ross in 5th.
Okay, Gestetner attacking. The skiffs at the moment sailing as close as possible to directly into the breeze. Touche Ross going out on a port tack with the breeze coming across its left-hand side. Please tell us what they're doing, Rob.
Well, the man at the back, the driver of the skiff, is hanging on to that tiller extension some 4 metres out from the centre of the boat, and he is driving the boat. You can see him moving the rudder. It's at the back of the boat. The man in the middle has the main sheet. He's controlling the mainsail. He's the man on the accelerator. He makes the boat go quicker or slower. And the one at the front of the boat is the forward hand. He's the string puller, pulling all those control lines and leading hard to try and keep these boats upright.
What does keep them upright?
Well, they're basically their weight. They're suspended by wires to the top of the rig, and you can see them out there on the end of those frames, what they call wings. And it's complete control and anticipation by these guys to keep these boats. These boats will fall over if that crew isn't there.
Well, we've already seen a couple of early examples of that. Not only do they fall over, but the masts fall out of the sky as well. Xerox coming up on a starboard tack. She's got right of way, but it's not doing her any good at all, because as we start to get up towards the top end of the course for the first time, the Gestetner, Dave Cummins at the helm, has taken the lead, and he has got the Xerox, I believe, in second position. Michael Walsh crossed behind the Elabashe a little earlier, and I think we'll find positions at this point in time. The Xerox we're seeing now tacking, coming back onto the port tack in second position. First was the Gestetner. Third, I think, could well be the Ericsson.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting crossing here. Ericsson did get a very good start, but just hasn't got the pace of the Xerox and possibly Gestetner and Prudential.
Ericsson tacking now across onto a port tack and coming across to meet up with the rest of the fleet, who are coming up the course on a starboard tack. And at this stage we've got Ericsson in third position out in front, and a little bit of rearranging going on.
The forward hand Neil McDonald is trying to tie up Craig Rams's trapeze belt.
Tidy him up a bit, make him look better. Okay, Prudential, closer than we thought. The Prudential's made up some time. Didn't come out of the blocks well, but has made up time. You saw over on her right, just prior to her changing directions just now, the Gestetner leading the Prudential, but they are now tacking, changing directions to head towards the top mark, which is at the top end of Shark Island. So we'll see in a couple of minutes. There we are, the long shot, and we can see the Gestetner up on the left of the Prudential. If they get to the top mark on that leg, I guess Prudential will round the mark first, Rob.
It looks like that Gestetner has overlaid, which means he's gone too far in one direction. And in fact, Michael Walsh, we can see a good close-up shot of them here, is actually laying through the mark. So Gestetner will be trying to come down and take the wind out of Prudential's sails, but Michael Walsh is fully aware of that situation.
The skiff's still sailing hard on the breeze, and I would have thought that Dave Cummins getting fairly close to spilling some dirty air onto the sails of the Prudential.
Every time you see Gestetner come down, Prudential does likewise. He knows he's got to keep air around the front, or the top of the screen, around the front of Gestetner. And I can see the mark now, and they will lay. So Michael Walsh is going to be very, very close behind Gestetner around this mark. There's the mark now.
Okay, now they go for the spinnakers, the third sail, the extra sail. And it's the guy who gets that spinnaker up cleanest and safest. Oops, problems there on board the Gestetner.
Well, here you go. There's the first mistake by Gestetner. Dug that wing in. You saw how abruptly the boat stopped. The spinnaker going up on Prudential now. You just can't make those mistakes. You can't let the world champion get through like that.
OK, Spinnaker setting now on board the Prudential. Clean as a whistle. Up there in around about 12 seconds. No easy job getting it done that fast either, let me tell you.
And here you see a nice clean set from Prudential. The wing dug in on Gestetner means the delay in hoisting the Spinnaker, and there you go, first to second.
What boat speeds are we talking about these boats approaching as they set the extra sail and head off back down the course, having now got through 1/4 of the course so far, Rob?
Well, upwind without the Spinnaker, you're looking at probably around 10 to 12 knots. Now, in this wind, probably 15 to 18 knots. This looks very interesting here. A very sloppy Spinnaker set by Xerox and a lack of preparation. They've got the Spinnaker on the wrong side and hence a very, very slow Spinnaker set by the boys on Xerox.
Adam South, the middle hand on board the Xerox, battling to try and get that Spinnaker set. They've probably just had 7 or 8 seconds pulled out of their time. They're now about 20 seconds behind the 2 leading skiffs. Up there in 4th position just now, approaching the top mark, Adrian Cahalan aboard the Ella Bachet, about to round the top mark and set her Spinnaker, and just ahead of her, Andrew Davola.
They've done okay.
Andrew calling to his crew, preparing to do a jibe. We've got microphones on board some of these boats. We'll try and pick up some of the onboard sound as we go through it. Let's have a little listen to Ericsson. About to go into the jibe.
Go out now, Rudy. Hang on, Sam, come on.
Rob, always desperation on board these machines. So delicate, so easy to put in the drink.
Well, the timing and cohesion between the crew is just like a ballet, and there you see a little bit of lack of concentration, and the timing was out, the wing dug in the water, and consequently a slow jibe. But they're off and running now. You see Andrew Davola adjusting his trapeze wire, trying to get lower. His concentration off the boat at the moment.
I know Ericsson and Andrew Davola are very keen to do well in this series. Gestetner at the moment up above the Prudential, I believe. We pan down to the Prudential. The Prudential is leading this race. So Michael Walsh is showing us all once again. He's the number 1 seed. He's got a lead of about how much at this stage, do you reckon?
I think be lucky to be 10 seconds in it, Bill.
OK, the skiff's heading down the back straight towards the bottom mark. They're probably now about 400 metres away from it, racking up around about 20 to 25 knots of boat speed. And the Gestetner looking to me as though she's got a little bit of extra boat speed there, Rob.
Sailing slightly higher, which does increase the speed, but it's a relationship to the boats to the mark, which is very important. Michael Walsh is actually closer to the mark, so possibly another jibe required to get to that mark, but nothing in it. Here you see Gestetner actually going forward, and this is going to be real interesting, this next crossing.
I know that out on our right we've also got the Xerox doing very nicely indeed. In fact, I do believe the Xerox went further down the course. If these 2 skiffs, and there's the Ella Bachet currently still in 5th position and really not making too much impression on them at this stage, but still doing very nicely.
What's happened, Bill? Xerox has actually carried more breeze down with Touche Ross and Ella Bachet, and I think you're going to find that Xerox has got right back into this race and will be very close to the 2 leaders.
And I would say the same thing about the Touche Ross. Michael Bochner at the helm. Didn't come out of the blocks all that well, but at the moment absolutely trucking off the breeze, picking up round about 20, 22 knots of boat speed. Oops, a little drop in concentration, down goes the wings, and that's what you were talking about.
It's like hitting a brick wall when those wings dig in. The boat speed goes from 20 knots to 0 in a fraction of a second.
Gestetner has changed direction. She's jibed, she's coming down towards the line, and in a moment we'll see how she's gone in relationship to the Xerox and to the Prudential. I know the Xerox is coming up behind them, and the Prudential is also very, very close at hand. So there's absolutely nothing in it now. We've got a 3-way boat race in the first heat of the TUI's International Cup as we reach the halfway mark in the first race of the series. And there it is, the Xerox. You just saw the sail of the Prudential go underneath the picture. Now we've got the Xerox at the bottom mark. She's right with the Gestetner. We've got a 3-way race and absolutely nothing in it.
They all left their Spinnaker drops very late there. They're actually done wide roundings round the mark. But here you see Gestetner packing that Spinnaker away, the forward hand still in the boat. And they go back on the wind up to Mark A.
So as the skiffs round the halfway marker, it's Phil Barnett Xerox narrowly holding off Dave Cummins and the crew of Gestetner, with series favourite Prudential very close in third position. Further back, Ericsson has a firm grip on fourth position, while Adrian Cahalan's Elabache and Michael Bochner's Touche Ross are involved in a tight battle for fifth spot. Let's rejoin commentary with Bill McCartney and Rob Brown.
The Prudential skiff has gone out to the right-hand side of the course. She's out there on a port tack at the moment with the breeze coming over her left-hand side, whereas the Gestetner and the Xerox have gone out to the right-hand side, out to the left-hand side. So it's going to be interesting to see who's ahead when they cross, Rob.
And also, there's a bit of traffic on Sydney Harbour. There seems to be a Manly ferry coming down the harbour, so this could be interesting.
Uh-oh. OK, Touche Ross did make up some time. Michael Bochner had a very good spinnaker leg. He went round that top mark a good 40 seconds behind the Elabache, but now he's right up there with them.
He's going very well, but that spinnaker's still up the mast, and here's that ferry I was telling you about. Michael Walsh, you haven't seen that one.
Oh boy, what does all this mean? What happens here? Is he going to ram them or what?
Well, basically, it's like going behind a block of home units. There's no wind, and you'll see them floundering here. There's the suction from the ferry. And while that's happening, the other two guys, Gestetner and Xerox, are sailing away.
Well, that's really bad luck and a mini tragedy for Michael Walsh and the team on Prudential. And Phil Barnett, the skipper of the Xerox, looks around, sees what's happened and whispers to Adam South, "You little beauty, Walshy's in strife. Here we go. We've got this race well and truly in our handle."
So here we've seen two mistakes, one by Gestetner digging the wing in, up on that top mark. Michael Walsh not seeing a ferry on the harbour. And the battle now is between Gestetner and Xerox.
Oh, it's a bit premature to be riding the world champion off, old son. Let's wait and see what happens. Anyway, as we pull back from our chopper cam, getting up towards the middle end of the course, second time around, only 2 laps. So here we go, absolutely nothing in it. The Xerox a little bit further out ahead, but the Gestetner higher up on the course, and therefore I would say nothing in it.
Yeah, there's not much. If Xerox actually tacked, they'd hit, so there's nothing in this boat race at all. Now, what we have is a situation here, if Gestetner falls into line with Xerox anymore, he's going to be affected by Xerox air, and I think Davey Cummings will be looking to tack out of here and try and pick a wind shift to lay through to the top end of the course.
The skiffs, if they get behind another skiff, the front skiff, the wind coming off that front skiff sails is distorted by the sails, and if it hits the sails behind, it comes through all twisted and turned and buckled up and doesn't do them any good at all. The crew on board Gestetner, Rob.
Well, here you see the crew fully extended out on the wings, trying to maximise the power in the rig. But you see Craig Ramsden, the middleman there, has the main sheet eased, the mainsail's well twisted off, and you can see the wake of Xerox. They're actually falling into line on Xerox, and I think you'll find they'll have to tack out of there. There they go now.
OK, they did exactly as you predicted. They fell down into the bad air coming off the sails of Xerox, not sailing as high, which is unusual. And the Xerox says, "You little beauty, we've got them under control. We made them go away. Well, let's go chase them."
Right, here we have Ericsson trying to close the gap on the leaders.
Currently in 4th position, the Ericsson, and not too far off it. Around about 10 to 15 seconds behind Prudential. We're told by officials around about 15 seconds behind Prudential, in 4th position and still very much in contention. A very light crew though, Rob. The conditions perhaps a little bit puffy for the boys.
Right, back to the 2 leaders. Here we have Xerox. They tacked once again, and I think Phil Barnett has let Gestetner off the hook. If he tacked immediately, Gestetner tacked, he would have been advanced and ahead and affecting Gestetner's air. Now we have the opposite situation where Gestetner has clear air and probably laying through to the top mark.
Well, Xerox would appear to have been certain to have had an advantage as she came up on the starboard tack. She's obviously gone right past Gestetner and then tacked, thinking perhaps that Gestetner wasn't laying the mark.
Yeah, I think that's a blunder by the Xerox crew, but here you see how evenly matched these 2 boats are. There's nothing in this.
What do the boys have to do here? The crew's on board. I see there they get a gust on board the Xerox, Rob. I saw the jib ease, but obviously 2 seconds of concentration drop, and that's it. Out the back door you go.
That's dead right. And here you see, I think as much as they're easing the gear for the gust, they actually are laying through that top mark, and they're going for maximum boat speed. So they're easing the gear, swinging it down as hard as possible, trying to reach over the top of Gestetner to get to that mark first.
As we pull around in front of these 2 lead skiffs, Not more than 3 or 4 seconds in it, and I wouldn't be able to tell you at this stage who's leading. In the background, you see Prudential. She's another 20 seconds behind, and once again, a mistake by either of these two will make all the difference.
And here we go, the vital spinnaker set. The one who gets the spinnaker up cleanly in a way can put 30 to 40 seconds on it immediately.
Ericsson coming up towards Shark Island. The top mark is at Shark Island. Those two lead skiffs are now at the 3/4 way mark. They're 3/4 of the way through the course. Prudential is also 3/4 of the way through, and she looks damn close to the rocks to me.
Very close to Shark Island where the weather mark is. You'll have to clear that wharf and then set a spinnaker.
And out ahead, the Gestetner. A nice clean set, no problems, no mistakes this time. Xerox right behind her, also no mistakes. Sailing a little bit higher than the Gestetner and perhaps no faster. Here's Rob, not Rob, his name's not Rob, his name's Dave Cummins. He's an Irishman and he's about to do a jibe. He's talking to his crew.
Tangles, get the jibe, you can just move a tad forward, mate. Okay, Simba, let's have you in, son. Let's take it nice and easy for this. You right now? Yeah, mate. Okay, let's go.
What Gestetner's doing now is jibed in a tactical situation to put Xerox right behind her into bad air. Not a very good jibe, very slow, but I still think they hold the whip hand.
As they come out of the jibe, the Gestetner skiff is the one on the left with the red and white spinnaker, Xerox the grey spinnaker with the black lettering, and off goes the Gestetner. That well-documented pace that she's been showing all season, and suddenly, whoosh, she just seems to take about 5 seconds off the Xerox.
It's incredibly acceleration of these boats. You saw the boat wandering around in that wing dug in the water, probably doing 5 knots, and here they are up to 20, 25 knots of boat speed. Now what Davy Cummings has to do here, they're going down towards the finishing line. He has to put himself between the finishing line and their opposition and stay there. So it's very critical. They're not going to lay through. They're going to have to do another jibe. So it's very critical that Dave Cummings picks his angle right and goes through to that finishing line, keeping Xerox behind her.
Okay, around about 4 or 5 minutes, no more than that, before we get to the finish line. At this point in time, 5 seconds in it. We've got Gestetner leading. Here she is, the flying machine. Dave Cummins at the helm. Right behind him is Xerox, Phil Barnett driving. Behind them, about 20 to 30 seconds behind, is the current world champion, Prudential, driven by Michael Walsh, just waiting for one little mistake. Positions after that, Ericsson, then Ella Bachet, and Touche Ross right behind Ella Bachet and currently in 6th position.
A lot of talk going on, a lot of hype. The adrenaline's pumping on these guys. Phil Barnett has to try and pull something out here. Now, if Dave Cummings mucks this jibe angle up, Xerox has a chance. So let's see how well Davey Cummings and the boys on the Gestetner handle this vital tacking angle to the finishing line.
Rob, as we follow the skiffs down on this final leg of the course, and we're not too far from a result, but this is short course racing. It's all happening real fast. I know the boys come off the water exhausted. What is the short course racing all about?
Well, I suppose you could liken it to one-day cricket or a Grand Prix motor event. The guys really love this type of racing because it's so quick and very intense, and their heart's racing. My heart's racing just watching it.
Indeed, so far this is a very exciting race. I mean, to have only 5 to 10 seconds between them after some 20 minutes of racing, 20 to 25 minutes of racing is great, although it looks to me like Gestetner's got this wrapped up, I must say.
Well, it certainly looks that way, but I'm looking at that spectator wash that's coming down. There's a lot of people interested in this racing, and I think Davey Cummings, if he does it all right, there's no problems here.
We have to tell you at this stage just quickly that there will only be one race today because of the southerly buster coming through and bushwhacking everybody. One race, it's a scratch start, and in tomorrow's racing we're going to get back and have the handicap start that was due today. So tomorrow there will be 3 races. As we get down towards the finish line, one race today, scratch start, and Xerox now starting to make up time on the Gestetner, no question in my mind.
Well, he's got a little bit more breeze, and he's decided to go above that spectator wash. Now you watch, that's very difficult to steer these boats and very dangerous. The wings dig in, the bow digs in and slows the boat down, and they're getting very close to this jibe angle which I'm telling you about. Now Davey Cummings, well, here we go. This looks very dangerous to me, what Gestetner's doing.
He seems to have left it late. The finish line down over to the right. They have to change directions to come down to the line. The Xerox threw a beautiful jibe, smooth as silk.
That was a very good jibe, and you notice that he jibed in flat water. Gestetner got caught in that spectator wash, and they're in all sorts of trouble. There goes the Xerox.
Okay, they're 50 metres from the line. 50 metres from the line, very hard to see it. Coming 40 metres now. Not more than 3 seconds in it. The Xerox is ahead. And it looks like a surprise victory. And they go through the finish line now. Okay.
Oh, nothing in it. Well, there you go. That's how critical it was.
What a great victory. What a great victory by Phil Barnett. I mean, he's absolutely hell-bent on winning this series, and to suddenly come through like that after looking shot was a great effort. Coming through in third position. The Prudential Skiff, the champion. Didn't have such a good race, but, you know, you can't always anticipate these Manly ferries, Rob.
One mistake, and there you go. He lost probably 30 to 40 seconds of that misjudgment of the Manly ferry, but the other guys saw it and they avoided it.
Behind the Prudential, the Ericsson looking sweet for fourth position, and a great battle going on between the Elabashe and Touche Ross for fifth and sixth.
So at the end of a weather-interrupted day which saw one race abandoned, it's Xerox on top with 20 points, ahead of Gestetner, with Michael Walsh's Prudential back in third. Be sure to join us at the same time tomorrow for all the action from day 2 of the TUI's International Cup 18-foot Summer Series. We'll leave you now with some words from a very happy winner, Phil Barnett.
Michael got caught by the Manly ferry, and he went around Shark Island just behind the Gestetner, and as you saw, he came down the harbour side by side, and we just jibed inside him to run to the finish, and he had not quite as good a jibe as us, and it was just enough to beat him. So it was good, pretty happy.